Hey, Paul McFadden here, and on this episode of Make Money in Property, we're going to talk about whether you should manage your own property portfolio or not. One of the most common questions that I get is, Paul, should I manage my own property portfolio or not? So, I'm going to be very short with my answer, but then I'm going to give you some background. But my short answer is no, never manage your own property portfolio. But let me give you the reasons why. First and foremost, understand that the rental market, especially being a letting agent or being a responsible landlord, it's super regulated and laws and regulations are changing all the time. And it's even difficult for letting agents to keep up on top of what the changes are. And when you're managing your own portfolio, this is the main reason why I don't recommend that you do, it's taking so much time away from what you should be focusing on. You know, if you think about it, a letting agent will charge 10% normally of whatever the rent is. So if the monthly rent is £700 a month, they'll charge you 10%, which is £70. And you've got to ask yourself, do you have a how can I save 10% or £70 a month problem? You don't have that as a problem. You should have, where's my next deal problem? Where's my next 100k raise problem? Where's my next joint venture partner problem? Like, try to find and invest your time in finding other deals or get more investment in or to build wealth. I know far too many property investors who manage their own portfolio and they have next to no time. They're dealing with all sorts of problems. I don't want to have phone calls in the middle of the night because something's went wrong in the property. I don't want to get phone calls and antisocial hours at the weekend and things like my light in my living room's no longer working. I mean, if you tried changing the light bulb, you know, things like that. Most people that I know of who get involved in property because of it's a phenomenal asset class that can generate an income, but it's the lifestyle that it can give you is why people invest in property, whether it's to retire early, whether it's to have an additional income, whether it's to be able to reduce the hours that they're working in order to have their own life back. It's to put their kids through private school, it's to go on extra holidays, it's to have the time freedom because their portfolio is generating an income to allow them to live life on their own terms and travel the world and all that good stuff. But if you're having to deal with all the problems that comes with having tenants, then that's going to just be one of those things that's going to, scunner you from being involved in property. So this is why a really good, competent letting agent will do a number of things. Not only will they manage your portfolio, but they will do all the tenant checks. They'll make sure you're getting the right tenants in place in the first place. They'll run through all the checks that's required to make sure that your property is up to all the regulations that's required to get the property rented out, making sure all the things that need to be done to set up the property to let out is done prior to bringing a tenant in the house into the property. But more importantly, just to make sure any issues that happen and go and do regular checks on the property, make sure that the tenants keep it in a good condition. You know, all of that stuff is what a letting agent should be doing to allow you to live life doing the things that you want to do, not getting caught up in all of that. Trying to save, in this example, 70 quid, 10% or whatever the rent is. This is why you've got to think a lot bigger. You've got to think about, leveraging your power team, and part of your power team, especially when you're building a portfolio, is a letting agent. They are worth their weight in gold. In my mind, letting agents should charge like 30% of the rent. Now, I know you're sitting there thinking, what, 30%? Just the graft that they put in to make sure you've got a portfolio that's fully managed, fully serviced, that you can just sit back and chill, and they just check in with you from time to time to keep in the loop if anything's happening. That there is worth so much more than the 10% that we're paying. And if you're having to manage your own portfolio to try and save that 10%, chances are you've bought the wrong property in the first place because it's not enough cash flow. When you're buying property, you want to make sure you're buying for cash flow, and it means that you've got way more money coming in, which means that you're making at least £300-400 net positive cash flow coming in once you pay off the monthly expenses, which include the mortgage interest payment, the letting agent fees, and the building insurance. So you want to be seeing several £100 net positive cash flow, and that way it doesn't matter if you're paying 10% to have a letting agent manage your own portfolio. So think about time. Time is a big investment as well. And if you're still trying to build your portfolio because you're working towards replacing your income and becoming a full-time property investor, if that's the goal, or you're wanting to live life in your own terms and having enough money coming in to allow you to do that, then you don't have the luxury of wasting time. So this is how can you leverage other people's time, experts in their own respective fields, such as letting agents, to look after everything to make things more streamlined for you. Because a lot of people think about investing their money to get a return on the money they invest. I want you to be thinking about the return on your time. All the time it's going to be wasted for you to try and find a tenant, to go and then do all the viewings, then get the property set up and instructing all the people to come in and do the gas safety certs, the electrical safety certificates and the EPCs and the tenancy temperature checks and Legionellas and all that kind of stuff. Everything that needs to be done when a letting agent can be taking care of all of that on your behalf. And more importantly, the regular viewing the property, making sure, taking the calls, chasing for the money, that if it's not being paid or whatever. You want a life. You don't want to have to do all of that yourself. That will make you demented. And that's why you should never manage your own property portfolio. Know your worth, know your value, pay the experts to do that, be an actual investor. And that's why I always talk about lose the landlord tag. You're a landlord, but you don't need to become a landlord as such. Be an investor. An investor does not get involved in all of that noise. They stand back, let the professionals do that, and they just collect the money and make the income that a property portfolio can generate for you, especially if a letting agent is looking after all the things that you should not be doing. So that's my take on whether you should manage your own portfolio or not. You just shouldn't. And if you do that, you're going to have way more time to go and get more deals, to raise more funds, to be able to scale up the business, or to go and do the things that you want to do with your own life to enjoy yourself as well. So don't manage your own portfolio, get a competent letting agent and enjoy your life.